We all go a little mad sometimes.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
They're here.
It's the SLAB, y'all. And you know what we do here. Where we probe, prod, and postulate
a topic
of your choice.
It was George W. Bush.
Yeah, you're back. We're back.
We're back on the SLAB.
It's been too long.
Metal SLAB. Yeah, it's been 2 months since we recorded one of these.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, I mean, like, it also did come up on, like, the busiest part of the year. Like, Christmas, Halloween, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, once
This
it gets
is true.
cold, and you get busy. It's so true, though. Summer is all just, like, free as fuck. Like,
True.
I think there's literally, like, 3 people I know that have birthdays in the summer. Generally, like, most people are, like, in one chunk of the year.
I hope you remember mine.
That's why I said some people are, like, somewhere in the middle of the year. I literally have, like, 13 birthdays in, like, December and January alone. It's a
Wow.
joke. DJ OKE. Joke. So, today we are talking about something that is controversial in the cinema world, kind of in general, but I feel kind of specifically with horror. And we are talking about remakes today. And I feel like there is no other genre in which the remake is more prevalent than horror.
Oh, it's cash cow.
Yeah.
Horror is cash cow for sure.
But also so is every movie.
Well, no, so I mean specifically remakes. Like, it can be done as an artistic interpretation of a previous classic because, like, what's
Or
Tilda,
not classic.
What did Tilda Swinton say about like no one does a cover?
Or no,
if
it
they
wasn't
don't love
a it wasn't a remake. It was a cover of Suspiria that they did.
Yeah,
Because
but
her and Luca both like already really really enjoyed the movie, and we'll get to Suspiria today.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, no one does no one does a cover unless they absolutely love it.
Or
You know,
pays well.
no one, exactly. Or B, it's purely just, and it can be blatantly obvious at times with some horror movies, and I have a few examples of just purely wanting to use remakes as a cash cow, as wanting to use them purely just to get money, or B, keep the rights to a certain horror film,
Which again,
or
is,
franchise, I should say.
That's the business, you know.
Yeah.
Like, you don't make a movie without expecting it to make, or without hoping that it's going to make some money. I feel like that this is like just going to so set the tone for the whole episode now, because I feel like this is very much so like me on one side of the court, you on the other side.
Yeah, we are gonna volley.
And we'll get into sequels. That'll be its own episode one day, just because like sequels, I think like they're made for different reasons, and there's usually different intention behind them.
Well, I just want to say,
I won't be investing. I'm out.
I say it all the time in my intro, I am against remakes, reboots, sequels, blah, da, blah, da,
So
blah,
what would
da,
have happened if
blah, da,
Tolkien
blah.
stopped at the first book? How would you have felt then?
Well, originally Tolkien only had it as one book, and the studio forced him to divide it up
And
to 3,
then-
only because they had a paper shortage, and it was World War II.
But still, there's still sequels to that, you know?
Wow.
So,
So,
yeah.
go on, give us your first point, and then I'll tell you why you're wrong.
So, okay, first off, I want to say that, like, generally, I am happy to see a new version of something, like a reimagining of something. Like, I'm somebody who always likes to see, like, the concept art of something, to see, like, kind of the alternate reality version of
So
what we would have. Exactly. And I think a good place to start is Texas Chainsaw 2003, which I think is generally agreed upon to be a good remake. I think people kind of hold that up next to the original as not like on par, but like looking at the series as a whole, I feel like if people were going to rank them, they usually go original, remake, and then however else you arrange the others, like there. I probably would go original, remake, 2, and then the rest are all kind of interchangeable there. I enjoy them all, but like, you know, as far as qualities go.
You know what, in all honesty, I would agree. Now, I did see the remake prior to seeing the original, and I think that's why I'd probably be biased in saying I prefer the remake to the original.
Okay.
As I said, like, purely just because
Okay.
I've seen it prior to the original.
Yeah.
And I love the original. I really, really do. I think it's, you know, to a T, it's almost a little extra in its, like, you know...
It's too gritty. It's too gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have...
And we don't actually see anything in that movie.
No, you don't. Like, you just get a lot of, like, bones, like, being hung on strings and just... Yeah.
It's all real bones. Like,
Yeah.
knowing that it is creepy and it's hot and sweaty and there's, like, literal dirt
Texas
on the
tea.
film. You know? There's, like, literal dirt on the film and stuff. Like, the movie... The actual physical celluloid itself is dirty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
But, like, this remake, obviously directed by... oh, God, what's his name? I was going to say... It was produced by Tobe Hooper. And original cinematographer. But it's directed by... I keep forgetting his name. He directed Michael Bay. He directed all the Transformers movies.
Yeah, it's his studio. He didn't actually direct it. He
Platinum
owns
Dunes.
Platinum Dunes is the one that kind of took over. I feel like there was kind of...
They don't exist anymore, don't they?
No, but they... Like, this was the first one that kind of sparked off the chain of remakes to come. I feel like this was the first one of the classics to get remade and have it not just be a sequel.
Yeah.
So after this, there was the Platinum Dunes or Friday the 13th, 2009, which I also like. But also, I've said it on the podcast before, I don't really care for Friday the 13th. I think all those movies are interchangeable, generally, minus Freddy vs. Jason, which is more fun, but which is also more of a Nightmare on Elm Street movie featuring Jason. Like, it takes place on Elm Street. But yeah, I think 03 Texas Chainsaw really kicked everything off and had people kind of go, oh shit, so people would pay money for this.
Yeah.
You know?
It definitely had, I think, something about the remake definitely brought a sense of a lot of really dark grittiness to the film that I don't think the original has. Marcus Nispel, yes, Nispel. You know, definitely love him. I think especially, like, because his bloods weren't super red, they were almost brown, and the film had a certain quality to it that just came across as like so much more darker and scarier in a strange way than the demented, you know, happy-go-lucky family that were just happened to be cannibals at the same time.
Yeah.
Than the original, you know. So in this sense, I would agree. I think the remake is good, you know. Plus, also, I would say it's also a reimagining as well, because it changes from the Sawyers to the Hewitts, and the storyline goes from being just Leatherface being the terrible guy to the Sheriff Hoyt being honestly the biggest antagonist in the film. Which
is also true in the original, because like Leatherface, for some reason, like they've never just made him the main character, even, or like the main villain, which I think, like, why a lot of people see Leatherface as kind of like not quite evil, because he's also being abused by because in the original, both of them are his older brothers. Yeah. And that's all we have. We don't get a quote unquote family. Yeah. You know, until later on. Until kind of the third movie, like the first Leatherface movie. Yeah. Where we get like a huge expansion on the family.
The Saw is family.
Oh my god, the trailer for that movie is fucking great. It's literally him with like Excalibur, except it's a chainsaw that comes out of the fucking lake and he touches it. And it's like it's like Evil Dead, like twists the thing. But no, I think like I think at least for this era, that was the entire point, was to like, let's take something that was already kind of grimy and just make it gritty and make it how we couldn't have made it back in the day. A la kind of Rob Zombie. I think Rob Zombie gets a lot of hate for his I'm talking about the Halloween remakes. I think he gets a lot of hate on those, but I think mainly, not because they were bad, I think mainly because people were like, how dare you remake a classic? Which to me was fucked up, because we both know, like we've said it on the podcast, we love the original Halloween movies. But like, when I think it was 2007, the first Halloween remake came out, I was fucking hyped. I was so into it, because it was like, they could get away with more, you know. Also, like, ratings and what's acceptable in movies and what isn't, like, changes over time, you know, so there's more freedoms. Like, it was inferred in those old movies that Michael was a fucked up kid, but then in this it's like, well, of course it makes sense that Michael is the kind of person or the kind of child that, like, kills animals or like pets and stuff like that, it's like that makes it all the more disturbing. You know, but
also like right up until that point in all of those sequels that they had tried to continuously explain it, like even like there was a cult at one time.
Oh god!
So like
Cult of the Thorn.
it was almost as if it was a soft reboot in a strange way. It was a reimagining because what they wanted to do was they wanted to ground Michael back into just being a killer, just a fucked up guy who just likes killing people.
Yeah, and he's imposing in that remake. He's huge. Yeah, played by Tyler Mane, played Sabretooth in X-Men. Just a big old guy.
He, what Rob Zombie, you see, again, like that goes back to the expectation that you have to solely compare it to the original, which is an unfair thing to do because Rob Zombie took the project because he knew that if he didn't take it, someone else who was doing it purely for the paycheck was just going to take it. And he saw to himself, I will do it because I am a fan of the original.
Exactly.
So you might as well have someone who does care about the source material and wants to build on top of it.
Yeah.
But you do get the other end of the shtick, which is the people who don't care about it. And this is why a lot of
the Poltergeist remake, or
oh my god,
there's just some stuff where it's like you didn't have to do that, or you didn't have to do that. Like you could remake stuff because I generally don't think things are untouchable. I have some kind of things in my notes here where I feel like there just actually isn't any point to remake anything because things are perfect. Kind of like we'll get to it, like with Jaws and stuff like that. I don't feel like you could update it. You know, I don't feel like.
Where's Sabrina? I will soothe the bitch.
I don't think none of the true beauties were there that night. I don't think I think certain things like can really benefit from a time update, like kind of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where it's like at first it was kind of talking about like communism or like not trusting your neighbor, and then there's like every year it levels up. There's an extra thing or there's an extra kind of social thing going on, you know? And I think like leaving things like with a 10-20 year gap, society changes enough for you to be able to go, okay, how are we going to view this?
Yeah, how can we update
today's lens?
Absolutely.
Like the kind of mob mentality of Halloween Kills. You know, I think that was a big complaint that people had, is like, where the fuck is everybody else in Haddonfield in these movies? Versus now, where mob mentality and social justice and stuff like that is way more prevalent once again. I love looking at it through that lens, and then looking at Laurie as like a female survivor, not just the final girl, but as like she went through a lot of trauma. People didn't believe her, and these are things that people just didn't talk about 20-25 years ago. Versus now when that's all in the forefront, you know. Yeah, you know. I
would agree. I definitely think, especially with the changing times, like the messages, this is actually something that I did write about in my notes, was when you have a remake or a reboot, I prefer, like you were just saying there, is an update of the messages that can come behind the film as well. Yeah. And that comes from strong writing and things like that. And I do think the same thing as what Rob Zombie was doing in those films was also dealing with the trauma of like, he didn't do it so successfully in the first film, but I think the second film was where like that sort of, I was going to say preteen angst, but like the sort of just
Kills.
Yeah, like it's sort of
which is no secret, I enjoyed Kills way more than I enjoyed the actual reboot.
Yeah. It was good, and it did it successfully in a way. I mean, obviously not enough to save the film. I mean, everyone just kind of panned it, to be fair.
In your opinion, I really, really loved Halloween Kills.
Oh, the visuals were great,
like a lot.
Yeah,
it made me really happy.
You know, I definitely think that, like I was saying, is the as long as there are certain categories that I particularly have for what constitutes it being good and what constitutes it being unfairly shot down at times, which is obviously people's it's a conscious decision to compare it to the original consciously.
Well, you have to. That's the thing, especially with something so beloved, you know, like Halloween. I think that's almost
well, mine would be The Wicker Man.
But like that doesn't even like count. But like again, we also kind of like have to think The Wicker Man was coming out 2007, the remake, where it's like right in the middle of like The Grudge, The Ring, Texas Chainsaw, Friday the 13th, all of those, like,
Yeah.
where I think remakes were the thing, you know.
Yeah.
Like, we even get up until Scream 2011, like Scream 4, that whole thing was remakes and trying to redo the original and stuff, and how that all failed. So I feel like that was kind of the tail end of remakes. I feel like after that, we kind of moved softly towards reboots, retcons, you know.
Or requels.
Or requels, which I actually do like, because, like, I think that started off with The Thing, sequel/prequel.
Yeah, so that was
Or
actually
requel.
something that I have in my notes as base. Now, when it comes to something like The Thing, nothing will ever replace John Carpenter's original. I'm
Which
going to
in
be
itself
very, very...
is a remake.
Which,
Which also is a readaptation.
but of course, I've seen John Carpenter's The Thing far before like I ever watched
from Another
the
Planet.
original. Exactly. And you know, it's such a huge leap, and I mean, obviously, you know me, I'm a huge practical gore fan.
Yeah.
So like as soon as I see like literal puppet spider heads walking around, you have me sold.
And that's like the one.
You know?
There's one effect in that where they find the dogs, but there's one dog head that like comes forward and it splits open and the skull just falls out.
Yeah.
And it's like this like lotus made out of like flesh and teeth and sinew. Oh god, I love that movie.
It's very good, but like that sequel/prequel, even when it came out, or not when it came out, when it was being advertised, it was being advertised as a remake.
I don't
they were
know, though.
full on, like nothing was being said as it was a sequel. Nothing was being told about it being a prequel until literally the last like
But we
3
also
minutes
weren't
of the
explicitly
film.
told that it was a sequel, though.
Oh no!
And
What
there
I mean
is
is
quite
like
a
it
lot
was
of
just
attention
being told as a
paid.
remake, and people were just like, "No, fuck off."
But see, then
no,
also again,
no,
I had
no,
to laugh
no,
at that
no.
when that was happening, because it was like, but it's a remake of a remake.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, but again, that's also a generational thing. It's like they just couldn't show certain things in what, like the 50s or whatever, when like The Thing from Another Planet came out.
Yes.
And that movie also is like, it's good, you know, but it's one that I think can serve, or will be served by an update. And that's why I think, like, again, I love to see like expansion of a classic, a la kind of Suspiria or Texas Chainsaw, but also like I like the idea of picking something that isn't a classic, like the Fright Night remake. You know,
Yeah,
Fright
I
Night
enjoy
is
that.
cult classic, where I think like if you know it, you'd like it. You know, or if you were like a VHS horror nerd, like
Yeah.
I think we were, it's like that you saw that cover.
And you were sold immediately.
It's literally, hold on, it's literally my background currently.
I love that.
You
It's
know?
beautiful. I love those painted posters.
It was one of those covers I saw as a kid that just like transfixed me. I was like, fuck, that's so good. But
Yeah.
it's not on this, it's kind of like B or C level horror, where it's
Yeah,
not,
it's very
it's
campy
not
theatrical, whereas
Exactly.
the remake is...
It's also campy and fun, but it's a little
It's
bit more
more-
brutal.
yeah.
It's a little bit more vicious.
Yeah, like there is blood and guts everywhere in that
Yeah,
film.
Chris
It's great.
Sarandon gets his fucking neck bit out in that remake. Which again, like, I think like that's kind of I'll make a little segue now in a sec, but I think like those are the kind of moments that you kind of have where it's like you have to give you have to kind of bow down and give praises to the original, and just kind of out of courtesy, but also it just feels weird if you don't.
Yeah, we all know and love a few Easter eggs here and there for sure, but I do think when it comes to a remake, or just really anything, like a remake, a reboot, a sequel, or whatever, yeah, pay homage to the original, of course, but like you have to update it. You have to give it more than what the original did, or else why bother doing it at all? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There has to be a certain, like, I'm not going to say certain level of expectation, because that's kind of cruel. Again, it goes back to
But
just
there is,
comparing
though.
it to the
It's
original.
the idea of having something to be compared to. There has to be.
But there has to be
comparison.
more.
But there's
It has
naturally
to-
going to be
There
comparison.
has to be more. So, like, let's talk real quick about Suspiria, because that was the one that, like, I mean, we literally just did it, and
Yeah.
we touched on it, but we didn't go into detail about it, because we sort of knew that the topic this month was going to kind of come in this direction. So,
Like, those movies are the same on paper,
yeah.
you know, but also Suspiria in itself is an adaptation of like a source thing. Like, that's not
Yeah.
entirely, like, the idea of the three mothers and stuff like that, that's not all original to Argento either. And even then, that movie is kind of not a remake, but like an homage to, what is it, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage?
Yes.
That's like kind of the basis for Suspiria. It all comes out of there, you know.
Yes.
Which I actually watched. I watched the Argento's reference video thing the other day, and watching The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. The intro to all those girls is exactly the same as in Death Proof, when all the girls are coming out of the airport. It's the la 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 la.
Yes.
La la. The zoom ins and then the photo shutter.
Yes.
You know.
When it comes to sorry, I'm actually just trying to find the actual book that it was based off of.
I don't know if it's actually
something
a
to do
book,
with,
but I think it's the three mothers themselves come from a book. Which is
yeah.
the whole basis for these movies.
So, like, Suspiria, you know, I mean, of course, we both have a special place in our heart for both of them. And I know we sort of convinced ourselves last week that this reimagining, because I'm not going to call it a remake. I would not call this a remake in any sense of the form.
I always said it was
took
just an
the bare
expansion.
bones of what the original was and took it in my opinion, a completely different direction.
It did, yeah. It showed us everything that was inferred or everything that we could have imagined about the original. Because to be honest, and again, like, I hold these two movies literally neck and neck as, like, I love them both the same. I think the original Suspiria, though, has like a little less meat on the bones. Like, there's less to kind of get into.
It's weak plot wise.
It is. It's thin.
Weak
it's purely
character wise, in my opinion, as well.
Oh, I don't know. Well,
the cinematography is gorgeous. The colors are gorgeous. The soundtrack, everything is really good. It's just
it's a visual album.
It's very, very much visual. And Argento was, I mean, it's giallo horror at its peak for sure. But Luca, there's something about, like I said, like when it is, how do I explain it? What I said earlier is like the sort of reimagining and adding to it, giving it more character depth. You know, giving
what
it
else
more.
Are you bringing to the play?
Yeah, what else? Because like I think we'll talk about Psycho. That's one of the biggest kind of like things, but
which is a huge divide. I feel like in cinema, because I feel like Psycho is one of those that jumps out of the horror genre and just becomes like a pillar of cinema because it's so important. It is like a Jaws or like a Halloween, where it really kind of did something like really measurable for the genre. So I feel like people were, and like Psycho is like a classic capital C capital L. You know, I feel like it's one that people really hold up, and it was one where I think anybody that made it, no matter how they made it, people would have been like, well, fuck you. Like, people were mad that they remade Psycho. Yeah. You know?
I would agree. Again, this is where the sort of, like, the bad...
she looked bad!
She was bad. She was just... No, I will give it. Vince Vaughn does give it socks in this film. Not gonna lie. He does well in it. But it's just not enough to save the film. If you're going to do... And it purely is because of it. Shot for shot remake, line for line, everything... There's just no point in doing it.
No, but they do update it. Because they make it...
In what way? What? Because they show an asshole?
No, because Julianne Moore's character steps up to be more of a Sidney Prescott than your typical Hitchcock blonde. You know, because she curses. She's kind of a bad bitch. She like kind of doesn't really take any shit. Versus like in the original, where there's more kind of coyishness of like, I just want to find my sister, versus Julianne Moore being like, where the fuck is she? Like, I'm gonna fucking like kick some heads in if I don't find Marion, you know.
But is that enough?
I think it's enough, but also I think Psycho in particular has to be looked at under a different lens than other remakes. Because
why? What constitutes that in your opinion?
I'll tell you. Because it is shot for shot, I think. Oh yeah. I think it's something different, because it's like saying like recreation of art is an art. I think that is kind of fucked up, you know, because it's like a skill. You know, even Hitchcock himself remade his own movies.
Great artists borrow, good artists. Good artists borrow, great artists steal, and this just feels like something borrowed to me.
Now, well, of course it is, though. Like, it's another thing, but also that's a readaptation, because Psycho is based on a book,
Yes, but like
which
the
is also
thing
based
about
on real life things.
well,
know?
that's the thing. So like that's another thing that really kind of irks me as well, is the fact that Psycho came from the book, blah blah blah. But the it's the same thing with Carrie. Like when you have the 1997, 98,
I think it's 97
97
or 98, one of those two.
It late 90s,
The 90s.
the 90s. And like people were just like, really? Are they going to do that? Are they going to do that? Blah, blah, blah. But like the thing is, when you have a look at that film, it doesn't add anything from the book itself. It's just purely the film from the film. Do you know what I mean? So like that's what I was saying about Suspiria. It's like it added so much more and gave it so much more depth.
Like they hit all the same beats, but with more.
Yeah,
like there
and
is
like
expansion.
That's where Psycho, late 90s Psycho fails for me, and famously it flopped. So like, you know, like my dick on the table, I'm just gonna flop that shit. You know.
Well, see, no. Also, there is
just terrible. It was just bad. I'm sorry.
Well, see, there's themes also that would have had to have been coded. Like Norman Bates in that movie is coded gay. You know, versus Vince Vaughn plays him a little bit more flamboyantly, or a little bit more outrightly gay. Also, it being directed by Gus Van Sant, who was an out gay director at the time, is able to bring a little bit of a different. I'm literally drawing out like a field map here.
A Venn diagram.
Go, yeah. But there's like I think there's like more of a recontextualizing. It's the same thing as like a Body Snatchers for me, where like Marion Crane also, she's having an affair, but she steals like way more money than this time. She feels less bad about it. You know, it also is less scandalous in the 90s for her to be. She's not even really having an affair. She's dating a man who is getting divorced. Seeing that in the 60s was scandalous, and she was a whore. But in the 90s, that's just...
She would flash her shit around town like she was Sharon Stone or something.
Close to Sharon Stone. She's, you know, fucking Anne Hesh. Like, I love her.
But I just, no, like, there's just no way that, like, and don't get me wrong, I'll watch the film. If we're gonna do it, we'll retrospect it at some point, but, like, don't just, like, if you were to say Psycho to me, honestly, the 90s one is not the first one that comes to mind, and I'd be quicker to watch the original than I would the remake at any point.
No, I love that. And there's an update in technology. Like, there's a lot of shots that Hitchcock wanted to get that they just physically, like, the cameras just weren't invented yet. Like the opening into Marion's office, they go through, I think it's Texas or something like that. I think they're in somewhere like that.
Texas tea.
The camera shot itself starts from way the fuck out here and zooms all the way in and then gets to her, versus it being just a cut, because they, like, again, physically just couldn't make those shots happen at the time. You know, but I think it being so shot for shot, I think there has to be some merit in, like, being able to recreate something so flawlessly, but also have it not just be like hitting the exact same beats, because they're not the same length. There's like extra little bits here and there, you know. So that for me is a recontextualizing versus just a remake. You know, everybody has different attitudes. The attitude of women has changed. The attitude of gay men has changed. The attitude of men and women together has changed. Yeah. You know, the, like, looking at women being loose for who they slept with, or, you know, and then even certain jokes are different. She says, like, you need to put, like, when Sam is leaving in the original, she's like, oh, you need to put your shoes on. And that's not a joke. She just needs to put his shoes on because he's getting dressed to go out. Yeah. And in the 90s, Viggo Mortensen playing Sam is butt-ass naked, and she's like, oh, you need to put your shoes on. In the 90s, that's a joke, versus in the 60s, it just was what he was doing, you know? So I think, like...
I don't know, it feels like you're just trying to grasp at straws to convince me with it, and I'm not convinced.
I'm telling you why, like, well, I actually don't give a fuck.
Well, no, to be fair, yes, they are valid points, but to me, like, that's just not enough to convince me that it is strong enough.
That's not my job. I'm not trying to convince you. Like, I'm telling you why I like the Psycho remake.
The dingo took my baby!
Oh.
Okay, that has no fucking bearing on it. You just wanted to hear Meryl. But, like, no, I think there is skill in being able to recreate something so like to a T.
Yeah.
You know? Because to me, it's like if I could paint that dresser like on a canvas, like photorealistically, that's just as impressive, if not more impressive than just building the cabinet itself. You know, even though I didn't come up with the idea, I didn't come up with the composition or the lighting or the sound it might make. You know,
Just for context, there's a cabinet in my room.
Nathan doesn't
So-
just sleep on his clothes.
Another one that I think is done rather unsuccessfully, although there is some really, really great shots in it, there's some really great like artistic interpretations in it, is the Omen remake.
Oh, I have that too, because for the same exact reason.
Yeah. So my issue with this was, in my opinion, specifically just because of the era that the Omen was, there's sort of a wholesomeness to it that just sort of gets lost in translation when you modernize it.
It's also a readaptation.
Yeah.
It's based on the book.
So it's I don't know how to describe it except for like the original has I was going to say like the graininess and the
They made it
softness of the
scarier
film. It was
and
scarier.
cleaner.
Yeah. But
That
also
mask
this
in the
film
bathtub
felt
with the red
exactly.
cloak. Oh, it's so good.
There's something about it that becomes very sterile. And I mean that in a good way, because the dream sequences, like exactly that demon in the red cloak with the like
Yeah.
a ram
It's
skull
like
or something.
Yeah, it's like a really long goat skull.
Yeah.
Like a goat skull, but going back to the fifth dimension, it's like a goat skull, but like tilted back, like elongated.
Yeah.
It's so fucking weird.
And then of
looking.
course like this shot of the the Nosferatu kind of figure like holding the leg of the baby and just dropping it. Ugh,
and
creepy as fuck.
The priest getting skewered, but it's so much worse because it's like all this glass in his eyes.
Yeah.
I only watched that scene actually the other week.
It is done rather well, but in my opinion, again, it's the same thing. It's not like a shot-for-shot adaptation or anything like that. It's just, to me, that film does fall flat. It's not... Like, those interesting visuals were just not enough to save the film for me, because I did find the only person that I really was interested in was not the mother, like, fucking losing her baby. I didn't care about the dad figure. I
Yeah.
didn't care that fucking Albus Dumbledore was in Guggenheim.
No, not Leo Shriver as Mr. Thorne.
The only person I was interested in was David Thewlis's character and the amazing way he died. But
That head cut off is so fucking good. in the
I
remake.
loved it. But
It's just the perfect, because it's like
Yes.
it's like Final Destination.
Yeah.
Because it's not a sheet of glass; it's like a street sign.
and it just like it
way it-
unscrews or something and just
It just does like a full.
his head is like
360.
full on knocked off.
I mean, like that's kind of an ideal way to be killed because it happens like
Quick,
that.
boom.
It's done. It's over for you in this town.
Over.
You're never gonna fuck in this house again, buddy.
But yeah, it's just the only person that I really cared about was David Thewlis, and I loved the fact that they reintroduced that full poem, because that was the one thing in the original Omen that always got me, because they only
It's
did
like
half
man
the
should be
poem.
set aside for man, brother
Yes,
from brother,
and they did the whole thing in
Yeah.
the remake, which was fantastic, because I was always obsessed with that, and that is purely from the Book of Revelations, and it was unedited, and I was like, yes,
Well, see,
that's
there's
what I
some
want.
things in that movie. Again, I don't know why, but like a couple of weeks ago, I got kind of back into that. Like when I was younger, I used to really enjoy the Omen movies and the remake. And again, that all kind of spurred on kind of from the remake coming out. Like it's one that I had seen before, because I feel like The Omen is one of those movies, one of those horror movies you can watch with the family.
Yes,
It's
I
not,
would agree.
It's not gross. I mean, there literally is that one death with the head being cut off, but that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Um,
Beyond that, I
and
mean,
it's a
apart from
Catholic
obviously
movie
like
again.
the
It's about
hanging,
God and the
is,
devil.
you know.
You know. Oh, again, yeah, that's a great scene.
Look for me, Damien. It's
But,
all for you.
She's like, I don't mean to make this birthday party about me. But, I'm just gonna jump off here. But I don't know. I think there's more of kind of a brutality to the remake, but also they hit on things that I thought was so cool. They get into kind of the science of like Revelations and
Yes.
all that, like where they're talking about like the flooding in Asia and stuff like that at the time, tsunamis, they're talking about like Leviathan and like comparing all that kind of stuff, like meteorites in the sky and all that. They really get into the science of it. Also, it came out on 666, which was fucking cool. I remember everybody being like, oh my god, it's a cursed day, we're all gonna die.
Yeah, that was something that I kind of really forget most of the time. But like again, there's another thing that are just like, oh, we have a gimmick, let's do it while we have the chance.
Okay, but Nathan, it rolls around. It's 2005. Let's do a Omen remake. Can we wait the year to have it line up? Like, it would be annoying if it came out like
She's a
month
gimmick,
or two
though.
before. So was the original movie. You know, again, based on a book. You know, not a lot of these movies are original ideas.
Well, yeah, no, I'd agree with you there for sure.
You know,
So,
even like you were saying, Carrie, all of her shit comes from Shirley Jackson's The Turn of the Screw, or fucking like The Haunting of Hill House, all that kind of stuff. That original source novel. She's clairvoyant, or Cleo, she's clairvoyant as that, and when she's younger, pulls rocks out of the sky to her house. You know, like that's literally the opening to Carrie. Again, Stephen King is kind of a Tarantino of like the horror book world, where it's like he's got a really good library of references and it's not afraid to drop them. But I also feel like he is, and I love Stephen King. Don't get me wrong. Like as a writer and like as a personality, I think he's so adorable. But like I think he gets a lot of undeserved credit for like inventing things.
true, yeah,
It's
okay.
like they didn't come from there, you know. I think maybe like Pennywise might have been one of the first times where clowns were shown to be like where the point was that they're scary.
Yeah.
Because I think people were creeped out by clowns just in general, but I think he played upon that. And then just kind of while we're on it, I think me and you unanimously agreed that it's like the first, or at least the first movie when it was coming out,
Chapter 1, just in case you're wondering
was
which
not
one
the
we're
title
talking
when it
about.
first came out. They were very sneaky.
Yeah.
You didn't think
I
I
see
would
what
know
you're
this.
doing there.
But also, again, for anybody that read the book or watched the original movie,
Knew
which
that
again
wasn't
was
the
also
end.
in 2 parts,
Yeah.
you know, knew that wasn't going to be it. But I think that was agreed upon, that this is not a remake of the TV series or of the TV movie from the 90s. It's a readaptation of the book. Like they went back to the source novel and kind of didn't really go to the remake at all, or to the original at all.
No, there was some fun Easter eggs, like that little kind of puppet,
Which again, I think you
Pennywise
have
in the
to
back.
do.
Of course, it's
You know?
just
it's
always
disrespectful
there, yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah,
you know?
so it was. It's
Respect
on
your
my
elders.
list as one of the good remakes, shall we say? Even though, of course, the quote unquote original wasn't a TV series.
It's better made. They had more freedoms.
Yeah.
It also wasn't a TV.
Also, they
movie.
killed a fucking baby.
They killed a fucking baby. But
Pennywise.
Gonna eat your baby!
there's a lot that they also just couldn't show. Again, kind of a generational thing.
Yeah.
Where,
Wasn't it in
they
the
were
original
limited.
that Pennywise just kind of opens his mouth and then Georgie's just screaming?
No,
And then it fades out
in
to
the movie.
like the
Yeah, it
coffin
totally
or
is.
something. I can't remember.
No, it actually is very well done. But that scene in particular, again, in the book and in the remake, are so graphic. Like it's so
Yeah.
upsetting.
Oh yeah, so
'cause
upsetting.
they kind of shy away from it. But like in the book, it's like Georgie isn't just like get his arm pulled off and then he's pulled down. It's like the arm is ripped off and he's like struggling and like flailing about, and like people find Georgie's body in the book.
Oh, they do, yeah.
You know, like he's not missing or anything like that. But there's also like a child orgy at the end of that book where they're like, let's prove how much we love each other and say fuck you to Pennywise. Everybody let's fuck Bev, I guess. Bev's like, okay. Do I get to say anything about this? But yeah, I think that's another good one for, like, they did it well because they didn't adhere. I know, I think this is one of my other points, right, where kind of what makes a good remake and what makes a bad remake. And I was saying that in my notes that sometimes it's the same stuff in different quantities. You know?
Yeah.
Too much fan service can be annoying, but if you don't do any fan service, people are like, why did I even watch this?
Yeah, so my interpretation of that would be something along the lines of either Dawn of the Dead or Dracula. Bram Stoker Dracula. Sorry, Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula.
Okay, yeah,
sorry,
Dracula has been remade
so many
literally,
times.
I think he's literally the most adapted book, like fictional character on screen, even more than Jesus. I believe in Dracula, I don't believe in Jesus. But go ahead.
So when it comes to things like where there's too much fans or at least enough, I think like definitely like The Hills Have Eyes,
great movie,
fantastic movie.
Again,
The
Wes
Fly
Craven
and
remaking
Dracula
Wes
are
Craven.
yeah.
You know?
And also, like, rest in peace, dude, love you. You know, deep friend
West
of the
in
pod.
peace.
So when it comes...
West in pieces. Yeah.
Stop it. Stop. I don't like it. Stop it.
Zoe.
You know...
How dare you?
So, when it comes to things like, I mean, Dracula, you know, ironically, this one is obviously 10 times better than, you know, the original
The James Whale or the fucking... It's not James Whale.
1930 something odd
Todd
thing
Browning.
that simultaneously almost saved the cinema industry. But you know,
which again in itself is an adaptation of a book, or which is an adaptation of a play, which was an adaptation of a book, which is an adaptation of an already pre-existing myth. Mm-hmm. You know, Bram Stoker remade the vampire
undead.
legend.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, he's the source. He's the original one. You know.
So, like, again, it's like, it's what constitutes it. It's not a reimagining. Something like Dracula is not a reimagining. It's just a readaptation of the source material rather than just jumping into, you know, copying the films. As I said, they went back to the book, like you were saying with it. They went back to the book, and every single thing, like even right up until the diary entries, that's one thing that the original completely dismissed. So yeah, I mean, if anything, that's the only negative I have about this remake is Keanu Reeves.
He really could have not been in it. No, like, no joke.
Oh yeah, he has no bearing on the plot whatsoever.
Jonathan, I get, is important, and he's kind of a reason as to why. But again, that's not even in the book. Like, he's not even, like, Jonathan and all that stuff is in the book, but there's no, like, you are my long lost love. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not like a Elizabeth. Like, it's none of that. You know.
Yeah.
But, okay, so just kind of while we're on that, I think, like, yeah, let's look at Dracula, because Dracula, or For Coppola's Dracula, is a really, really good one, because it's actually more book accurate and like than kind of the rest of them. Mm-hmm. You know, like, if you look at Dracula, the Todd Browning one from the 30s or whatever like that, none of that shit happens in the book, like, at all. Or it's like, it happens in the book, but they pick like this much to actually show on screen. Yeah, again, like,
it's all off screen.
Look at that! It's a large dog. It's a very large dog running across the moors. The moors.
The moors. Stay off the moors.
But yeah, I think, like, that one in particular, like I said a million times, I fucking love that movie. Just, like, the way it looks, the soundtrack, how close it is to the book, while also adding the Mina and all that kind of stuff.
How it's shot, the sort of artistic interpretation
and
to use the like tricks that they would have used at the time.
Yeah, everything is done in camera.
Yes, like everything you see is on camera, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So like, you know, salute for sure with you know.
The whole time.
The whole time.
It's just the whole time we loved it.
I always think of those shots of... They use red in that movie a lot. Obviously, blood. Blood is the knife. Mm-hmm. Where Keanu Reeves is on the train journey on the way up to the Carpathians. Where the sky is just blood red. Yeah. And it's... we can see his diary entries kind of like in screen, and then also Dracula's face just on the moon. Yeah. You know? Or the very, very opening when it's him fighting the Turks, and everything is like almost done Candyman 2019 or 2020... You know, it's all kind of done in shadow. Yeah. With the red background and stuff. And then just making him... Again, it's an expansion of the lore, kind of going and directly linking him to Vlad the Impaler. Mm-hmm. And they even have the Albrecht Dürer portrait. Yeah. I loved that, you know. It's just... It's the Rei Kawakubo of it all. The costumery, you know. Fuck me.
The faggotry of it all.
I can't wait. No, I honestly can't wait till we do that movie.
It's fantastic. But it's definitely, it's one of those like short-term reimaginings that just blows the original out of, when I say the original, I mean like obviously the first adaptation of the book. It just blows it out of the water. And
like Bela Lugosi is Dracula, but the Dracula movie is Ford Coppola.
Yeah, Bela Lugosi is Dracula, but Gary Oldman is Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Bram Stoker, yeah.
Stoker? Sorry, Stoker.
I'm having a Bram stroke.
Do you know what I mean? So like, it
Bram
definitely...
Stroke, that's like a cereal.
Count Chocula much?
Oh my god, branded, copyright, and don't anybody take that. Dracula themed cereals, but when it was like Bram Flakes.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, I love it so much.
Oh my god. So one of them that I would just fully again was is let's talk about The Wicker Man. We're gonna talk about The Wicker Man. Let's talk about The Wicker Man.
No, I don't want to. I actually have never watched the remake. I really never saw the point.
So
that's a money grab.
Where do I start? That it is purely a money grab, and like this,
it's in the
like,
wrong place. Everybody's American. Like,
well, don't hold it against them.
But I do. It completely removes all context. The idea of it being pagan old gods, and having it all be American, like it doesn't make any sense. Why is Nicolas Cage in it?
So this is one of those examples, like, again, to me, it's the same as, like, Nightmare on Elm Street remake. You have the Friday the 13th remake, the Fog remake. All of these types of movies that I look at and I go, these are clearly, A, tried to keep the rights to the film.
Yeah.
But B, is purely just a cash grab. Because it was just after... we actually started with it was just Michael Bay's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So like it did well, but the problem was everything after that was just so surface level treatment that it had what it needed to be for the beats of the story, and then the acting was just weak sauce. It really was.
But even there,
but with The Wicker Man, it's full change. Like there's nothing to save it about it.
Or they changed one or two of the fundamentals that you're supposed to keep.
It still hits the story beats.
But it kind of doesn't. It's like keep it to the British
The man
Isles.
gets burned at the end.
Okay, but like that. Okay, but like that's whatever. It's like you're changing the location, therefore changing the context, therefore changing the history, therefore changing the entire vibe.
Well, you
it's
see,
like
I mean, paganism is our culture,
so it makes so much more sense to have it in kind of the Scottish Isles.
Mm-hmm.
Have it be a thing where everybody is kind of not necessarily just like British, but everybody's kind of from that area.
Yeah.
Everybody's got like the accent and stuff.
Not the bees.
So fucking stupid. That scene's
really
not even
is.
in the movie. That's like a cut scene.
Yeah.
Like if we went and bought a DVD of the Wicker Man remake,
anything.
it's not there.
Yeah.
I think that movie is just a joke. Also, I'm not one of those that's like... See, this is where we agree on remakes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one of those that's like, oh yeah, Nicolas Cage. I can really, really like give or take Nicolas Cage.
Mm-hmm.
Like he doesn't make or break a movie. He can break a movie for me.
Yeah, he can.
Again, like The Wicker Man.
Definitely can.
Why do you fucking hire him to take the place of the sergeant? Because that sergeant was so good at being the straight man and being so like, what's all
I
this?
think
This is bizarre.
Yeah, I think what they
How
tried
bizarre.
to do is like, just the straight guy on the motorbike cop. Like that was the only angle.
Yeah, like he's an American
exactly.
cop.
Yeah,
He's
do you know
not
what I
like,
mean?
There's no stiff upper lip British, rigid, conservative
Christian.
religion. Exactly, there's no
Yeah.
Christian part to it. And that's the entire. Well, I suppose
That
he's a
it
Christian
is the
in that
entire
movie,
point.
but he's like an American Christian.
But also, like
they're
that doesn't come
different.
into
There's no.
when it comes to like the Christianity aspect. That aspect in that film is almost entirely absent.
Yeah.
Because it's less about the pagan roots and just more about being like, oh, we're just
Witch ladies.
You know what I mean?
spooky
But
bitches
I
that live in the
do,
woods.
I actually do appreciate the kind of change from a patriarchy to the matriarchy. I kind of liked that twist, but it's
But
just
that's
not enough to
classic
save
remake.
it.
You swap a gender in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a lazy movie where they're like, okay, instead of America or instead of the UK, it's America. Instead of it being all dudes, it's all chicks. You know, I think,
And
like,
it was about the bees this time.
I think it makes a lot more sense for it to be like a British versus kind of Scottish, pagan, Irish, all that kind of stuff. The idea of like colonialism and like all that history is already built in there. Like that's already kind of, it's literally in the roots of the story. You know, the idea, like, why wouldn't this stiff upper lip British like police officer, like, he makes such a good fish out of water in this, where everybody else is naked and sinning and committing crimes openly copulating like in the moonlight, you know, and he's just well, I suppose his reaction to that in the original movie is just kind of like,
Oh.
whoa. That's weird. Yeah, it's just Nicolas Cage just doesn't seem too enough. He doesn't seem different enough from them.
Yeah.
Versus in the original, it's literally two completely different worlds.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know?
Yeah. It's it definitely seems like it's where, like, in my opinion, this is the sort of thing where actors are just phoning in for a paycheck. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, when it comes to Nicolas Cage, it's either 100% Nicolas Cage or it's not him at all.
Or he's not in the movie.
Yeah. So it's just, it falls 100% flat, and I'm so glad, like, everyone just kind of shits on that movie for what it is, you know, and I'd rather just keep away from it.
That was the same problem I had for Chapter 2, was Bill Hader. Was Bill Hader
Yeah.
as Bill Hader, as Richie playing Bill Hader. You know what I mean? It was too much. Like, the comedy was too much. And I get he's supposed to be the funny one, but they almost made him the main character in Chapter 2, which, like, annoyed the fuck out of me. He's, like, always been my least favorite in the Losers Club, I guess, you know? But he is, though. It's like you have your favorites. I have people that I kind of root for, you know? But, yeah, I think it's weird. It's like, obviously you want to do something different, and, like, it has to be different but not too different, and it has to be kind of the same but not too the same. That's my entire point, is, like, it's very hard to find that perfect balance.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to, like, doing remakes and reimaginings and things like that, like, what constitutes the film, in my opinion, is a healthy balance of adding something new.
The bones have to be the same.
Changing, not necessarily changing themes, but updating themes that either A, were not present in the original source material, or B, obviously due to not necessarily political climate, but current climate. Yeah. And just better character arcs as well, because that, like, in Chapter 2, like, I had this issue with actually Bill Hader's character, was obviously the fact that he was not out as a gay man, but
he's also not the gay one.
Yeah, it was brought up specifically through Pennywise's taunt.
You're a little faggot, a homo little faggot, a stupid little gay loser.
And the thing is, it's never resolved, or it's never involved as a character arc for the person. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I think, like,
that's just an example. Like, if there was another character that had another thing that was brought in as, like Bev's character arc, where she has suffered traumatic experiences with her father, and that went up, and she leveled up because of it. You know what I mean? But that sort of storyline with him, you know, staying in the closet and things like that, just went to a certain point, and then it was sort of slightly just forgotten about.
But I would think that would be so boring to just have, like, oh, I'm gay. Like, okay, and he's black.
But I do firmly have the opinion that if you're going to bring it up, make the story count and make it influence the plot in a stronger way.
No, I don't think so, because then you're just using gay for gay's sake.
No.
Because he doesn't just happen to be gay. Being gay then becomes his thing. You know, even with Mike, it's like Mike gets, like, racial abuse in the first one. Again, obviously, like, time period, like, there's a huge jump. But, like, that doesn't, like, then become his thing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Even though they completely almost erased Mike from those movies, which is so sad. They give, like, all of Mike's parts to Ben. Like, Ben
I noticed that.
Yeah. It's like, well, he's fat, so he is also a loser, I guess, you know? A fat, fatty loser. That's, like, the best line from that second movie now. Kiss me, fat boy. Oh, it's so good.
I was so happy when I seen that in that. That was the one thing I was hoping for, like, Ben's character arc, but, like, just that one shot.
To become fat
Kiss
phobic.
me, fat boy. You know what I mean?
Oh, but
I just needed that. I needed that in that movie.
That poor little actor, I forget his name, but he's like, how shit would it be to be him and to have Bev have to be like, you think I would kiss somebody as fat and gross and ugly as you are? Gross!
Oh my god.
I actually I would love to get that as a tattoo one day. Kiss me, fat boy.
Kiss me, fat boy.
I think it's so cute.
Yeah,
I've definitely used that as a caption before on Insta.
Yeah. The
And that movie just is scarier. Those 8 remakes are so intense.
Oh, of course
They're
they are.
so much
Yeah,
scarier.
absolutely.
And that book is intense.
They
They were so limited by being on television at the time, and not just being on television, being on ABC, which is weird when you think about it, because that aired on the same channel. Like, they were so limited because they couldn't really show blood or violence, but on the same channel and on the same year, Twin Peaks premiered, and we got Maddie getting literally just beaten to death on screen by her uncle. You know, we got rape and murder and all that kind of stuff in that show. But I don't know.
But I also think, like, what was that, PG-13 or something like that, I was thinking. So I suppose, like, it's just the age rating that they would have had it on. But the other thing I would say is what constitutes, you know, a bad one, or, like, what needs to be avoided.
Relying too heavily on the source material. And I know we're going to kind of go back to Psycho, but I feel like, again, like, I do just kind of have to separate that in my mind versus like a Nightmare on Elm Street remake, where it's like that was it wasn't shot for shot, but it was beat for beat. Yeah, where it was like, okay, and now the bath scene is going to happen, and we know that because we saw the original.
We know the mother's going to get pulled through the door, except
horrible.
You know, to be fair, I actually did like that kind of smashing through the 2 seconds
where we see it through the eyes
back. Oh yeah, no, that was just terrible. CGI is fucking awful.
Freddy coming out of the wall versus just having, again, like, super impressive, just a sheet of spandex pulled tight and having Robert like throw his face up into it. Yeah, it looked so good. Like, it's literally a perfect shot. Yeah, versus then just having like a 3D MS Paint, like, pulling the wall and literally just stretching and warping the wall to beat the shape of a person. It just looked awful. Yeah. And I think generally, universally, people were like fuck that Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
It was terrible. And then they also sort of, how did they do it? He was a filthy child murderer.
No, I thought they could have done something really cool there and had it be that he actually was innocent and wasn't a child murderer and wasn't a child,
and he's just out for revenge
because they've wrongly accused him. Yeah, you know, I think that would have made a lot more sense. But also, it was always kind of inferred that Freddy Krueger was like a child abuser, but they didn't really get into specifics as to what that abuse was. I mean, he killed children, but apparently, you know,
I love the way Wes Craven was like, nah, fuck that movie.
He's a child murderer, but he couldn't be a child rapist. You know? Yeah. Like, murder isn't so much worse. Oh, but God. I think they could have gone so much better with that. And I feel like
that face, like, CGI.
I thought he looked okay. Because, okay, Robert Englund, again, daddy, husband, like, you know, maiden, mother, crown.
Slam me against the wall.
Seriously, but like, I would 100%
slam me against the wall, pull me up the ceiling.
Yeah. I would be so happy to be pulled into a fucking waterbed with Robert Englund. But his face looks like pizza. It looks like pizza in those movies. Versus Jackie Earle Haley, who isn't intimidating because he's like 4'2". Like, I know he's Rorschach and like he's good at being aggressive, but like when you see him next to people, he's very small.
Jesus.
Gross.
It looked
like
disagree.
real burn scars. Like, it looked okay.
It looked
Robert
fake.
Englund
it was
never
fake.
Looked...
She was fake. It was like, she's fake.
Yeah, it's a fucking movie.
Shit.
It's a fucking movie. But like, no, I think the makeup on that, if they showed it more, I think people would have liked it because it's kept so in shadow. Like the screen test and the makeup and stuff for it, it looks painful to be that Freddy Krueger.
Hold on. I'm just pulling up an image because
like, it never looked painful to be Robert Englund's Freddy Krueger, but like to be Jackie Earle Haley's, it looked like he looked like a real burn victim. Like, it looked like he was just one big scar versus just like vaguely kind of bubbled skin, you know? Like, he does look like a pizza.
No, you see, I'm just looking at that and like it just doesn't do it the best of service. And I know some of this practical and physical and whatnot.
I think he looks good, and the lines are good in that movie.
You know, and it to be fair, it does pull off the whole burn victim thing a little bit better. But you know, it just I just see it as not wholeheartedly like pulling off that as best as.
No, they needed to go
done.
Further.
Yeah.
But some of the lines in that movie I think are very good. And again, like, on this podcast, I think, like...
You're in my world now, and you can never leave.
No, it's not even that. It's like, it's going to take 7 minutes. He's like, the human brain takes 7 minutes to fall asleep or to like fully go into REM sleep.
Yeah.
So it's like for 7 minutes. I think it was
He gets
Jesse
to
or something.
fuck with her.
Yeah, he like it's the boyfriend when he's in prison.
Remember?
And
yes.
then he gets his chest punched through.
Yeah.
And the other inmate is just left there, like to take the blame.
Yeah.
But it's like when Tina goes out, she sees that he's killed her dog, and he's like, "Oh, he's just petting him." You know, it's so good. And then it's like, it's like, why are you screaming? I haven't even cut you yet. Oh, it's like I was hyped for when it was coming out, you know, and then I saw it. I was so sorely disappointed because it came out the year after the Friday the 13th remake, which I really like.
Now, you see, the only person, Rooney Mara, who plays Nancy in this remake, just fell...
Boring.
Why
are you even here? Make Tina the main character. If
Like,
you're
you
gonna
had
do it.
Connie Brighton as the mother. She did more, and she was in it less than fucking Nancy was.
I was going to say, they never use her enough in anything that they have her in.
No,
like,
Connie Brighton's great.
I wanted her... Like, I was always kind of shocked that she wasn't in more American Horror Story.
And then you fucking Kyle Gallner. Oh, Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
he was just in the new Scream movie.
So flat.
He was just in the new Scream movie.
I know, and
Oh,
it
and he was in
wasn't
Jennifer's
bad,
Body
but-
too.
Yeah, it's just...
He's like, want to go see Rocky Horror on Friday? And she's like, I don't fucking like boxing movies. Oh, Jennifer's Body, bro. It's such a good movie. We have to do it sometime soon. We need to do it for like International Women's Day or something this year.
Oh my god.
Oh, can we actually have that?
Yeah,
it's
sure,
like for
why not?
International Women's Month or whatever like that, we should have like good for her movies. We should like Jennifer's Body and Carrie.
Yeah.
And I suppose we've already done Suspiria and Midsommar.
No, we're not doing them again. So, the other thing that I constitute as being a bad...
It was bad.
It was bad. Is there's no real story, should I say plot, in the first place that drives anything. So, for example, the remake of You Have Friday the 13th.
Oh, no.
Which is purely just not good enough to...
Why?
Like, the first
Compared
thing is...
to what?
The original.
Which actually also has like no fucking plot.
Well, no, they're just...
See, I got you stumbling. Those movies are trash.
Well, I fucking stutter anyway, so don't fucking call me out on something I have no control over. Bitch. So, like, in the remake, that fucking guy from Supernatural, his
Jared
sister...
Padalecki.
That guy.
Also in the House of Wax remake. Which is
that one.
Excellent. I don't
Yeah,
care. That
to
movie
be
is
fair,
great.
that was pretty good. I enjoyed that.
I think that came out like literally
Paris
2005.
Hilton literally gets speared through the face.
No,
I
not
love
only
it.
gets speared through the face, hits against a fence, falls, and
And
then
then
slides down the pole. Oh, it's so good.
You just got the receipts for me, don't you?
That's another great horror remake.
Yeah, it is, but when it comes to the plot, like, I think Jason, like, has his sister or something like that, and, like, that's pretty much the only thing. Everyone else is there by circumstance in a house.
But that's how horror movies work. It's a slasher movie. You don't
I
go
don't
into
know.
a slasher movie for like
Yeah, but you see, the
literature.
thing for literature. The thing is, when I'm looking for, I want, but I suppose, like, we often talk about the fact that, like, we grew up in time where, like, we've seen it all now and we want more from things like that. So
That movie is brutal as fuck, though.
So I expect more. If I have a remake, I expect more. I want to see more. I want to feel more. I want the acting. I don't want fucking Oscar-winning acting, but I want someone to really fucking try. And when you fucking hire someone like Paris Hilton to be in your movie for House of Wax, like,
She was good in that movie. I don't give a fuck. Also, again, it's a slasher.
it was
I
Paris
think, like,
Hilton playing Paris Hilton.
She was pregnant in that movie.
Was she?
Yeah, it like
That's how forgettable.
because she's
it
not
was.
drinking or any of that stuff. It like adds a whole extra like level to it or whatever. See when you pay attention. No, but seriously, I'm gonna kind of be on the side of the Friday the 13th remake.
Wait, you literally just shat on it 2 seconds
No, I
ago.
didn't.
You were
I
like,
loved
she's
the-
shit, her look was shit.
Actually-
she shit, her shit, she's shit.
I think if you rewind 5 minutes ago, it was actually you that said that. I'm on the side of this movie because I said,
Yeah, no, I'm shitting on it as well.
I know, but I'm saying I don't care too much for the
I'm
original
taking
series.
a hot dump on it All of them, except for the first one.
No, even the first Friday the 13th, I don't care. Those movies are boring, and because they're all the same. They actually are all the same until you start to get to like a Jason Goes to Hell or a Jason X or something like that.
When you throw a cult into your movie, you've lost your audience. Just saying.
That was Nightmare on Elm Street, though.
I know. I'm just saying.
He body hops in those movies, or like in Friday 6.
And then in Nightmare, there's the Dream Demons.
I fucking love that. That's also 6. Freddy's Dead, but that was the last one. That was the last one until New Nightmare.
Yeah.
Which again was it's so good. It's so good. Like precursor to Scream, meta, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But like the remake for Friday the 13th was really good because it managed to kind of pick all the bones of like what is a Friday the 13th movie. What do we need to have? What can we add also? So there needs to be tits. There needs to be exploitation. They're going by like old moralistic rules of like if you have sex, if you drink, if you...
And it was the early 2000s.
Act like a piece of shit, you know, exactly, you die. And they kind of managed to summarize that series into one movie, which I thought it was really, really good. There's a girl who just gets boiled alive in a fucking sleeping bag in that movie. Yeah. While her boyfriend who's stuck in a bear trap with his leg like descended outwards is like just watching. Yeah. You know, and he's keeping Jared Padalecki's sister because she looks exactly like his mom. Yeah. So like, and they make Jason into like a woodsman in that movie. Like he's not just like a kid that just like he's not like poor little guy Jason. He's like Bear Grylls or something. But also just going back to Texas Chainsaw, I think Texas Chainsaw also reintroduced the idea that like the main villain can't just be a guy. It has to be a huge guy. Like they made Leatherface huge in that movie, and then that's where we got the new Jason.
Wasn't he a wrestler?
Tyler Mane.
Yeah.
Or no, that's not who plays. That's who plays the new Michael.
I can't remember. I love the fact that they always they told the actor there's this one shot, I think it's in the meat house, the abattoir, the slaughterhouse, and
no, I love that. I prefer meat house.
Meat house. And they told him, they made his makeup around his eyes so dark that they were like, you know what, whether you have your eyes open or closed, like it's up to you. And he was like, if I close them, will they look better? And they were like, yeah. And there was like, it's that one shot where he's like looking between like, I think it's like a load of lockers or something like that, and yeah, it's so dark shots that like it literally appears like there's and it literally appears like he doesn't have any eyes in the shot. It's really good.
I remember when that movie came out, I was like, he looks like Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah,
because he's all like stitched together. Obviously.
Didn't you hate that secondary mask that they made out of the boyfriend?
It looked so dumb because it also had his teeth in it, which doesn't even make sense. And it had the
goatee at the bottom. I was just like, oh, like I preferred the other mask because I was like this one looks more gross.
The first mask, yeah, well, because that one was fresh. Like it just looked like Kemper, the guy.
Yeah, it was just like, hey, gay, yeah.
Versus like the other ones where it's like it's not even just one face; it's like three faces stitched together.
Like there's a mouth on his neck and a nose on his cheek or some shit.
Exactly, like it's not leather
and
yet.
It's different hair.
You're just flesh face.
Yeah.
Or my favorite is always when Leatherface gets feminine, just because I think like I remember like looking at that as a child, and they don't do it in the remake, but like looking at the original, just being like what am I fucking even looking at? Yeah. You know, because it's like a guy wearing a chick's face, but like he's still like reapplied makeup onto it, and he's dressing feminine. Because in
wasn't there a wig or something as well?
There's it's a scalp. In the original movie, Leatherface kind of plays like the mother, like he's the cook. You know, he's the one that like butchers all this stuff, and like he's the one that
puts on blush and shit and dresses up nice.
Yeah, like at the end, he's wearing garage doors, blue eyeshadow, and just blocks of blush, but on a human flesh mask. Yeah, he's still vain. Like he wears the mask because he hates his face. You know, I also love that like with Freddy Krueger as well. Like he's also vain because he still wears a hat. Like, cover it up. Like he could take any shape or form, but he's like, no, I like this outfit. You know? I think it's only in New Nightmare where he like gets leather trousers, the
Oh, that
like
long
the jumper
coat.
is like the long trench coat.
Yeah.
That glove. Oh,
That's not even a glove. They're
It's
literally
like-
coming out of his fingers.
they say they use Doberman and like tiger tendons in that glove, or like in the glove.
Like it.
But it's like all flesh and bone, and the things come out of which is a reference to Nightmare 2, because those claws are organic.
Oh, they were
There's
coming
actually no
directly in.
glove.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no glove at the end of that because they just come out of Jesse's hand.
Scream, Queen!
They followed us on Instagram,
I loved
the
it.
documentary official page. That's really cool.
Thank you.
But hold on, wait. I haven't looked at my notes in like half an hour. I've like so gone down a rabbit hole. We
No,
just
but
talked
it's
about
good,
Texas Chainsaw for the last hour.
So a good one that I really did enjoy was Invasion of the Body Snatchers,
Which one?
the 70s one with Donald Pleasance. So the thing about this film was it kept, one of the really, really good things about it was that it kept the theme of, well, who's really who? Paranoia was the biggest thing, but I mean, like, of course, they just came out of the Reagan era and all of that kind of thing.
And like
so
paranoia is the spine that all other like
Well,
Body
they did it in
Snatchers
The Thing
movies
as well.
are, like built upon. That's like the fundamental
Yeah.
is paranoia and not knowing who is who and who to trust and stuff. And
Yeah.
they're all good. I don't think
Yeah.
I don't have a least favorite one.
I think my least favorite one is that it's like the military base.
Is it Nicole Kidman? Oh no,
I
that was
just-
so good. Meg Tilly, Jennifer Tilly's sister,
Uh-huh.
where she's like, "Where are you gonna go? Who are you gonna see?" Like it really like gives that like vibe of like, oh god, like
You know.
because in that one, by the time they discover it, everybody's already turned. Like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not slow at all.
Yeah.
it is very much so like that family versus the world, and then she does a great scream. They're like, oh, it's so good.
That 2000 one with the Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig.
Freaked me out.
I didn't mind it because
Freaked
it
me
it was much more restrained.
Yeah.
Versus obviously the previous films. And the fact that they just called it The Invasion sort of took it out of sequel or remake, but put it into reimagining of what it is, and it just did it. You know, the acting was a bit questionable now.
Oh no, I don't know. I love Nicole Kidman in her wigs. I remember one night I was stoned as fuck. It was like 1 a.m. and I came in and I was watching it in my kitchen for some reason, and that movie had started, and just sitting there I was like, oh, like I don't know why every once in a while you'll watch a movie and like you'll be in a certain mood, or it's late at night or you're alone in the house or whatever like that. Really freaked me out. Like it really got to me for some reason, because like all the twists and stuff in that are like actually really, really good.
Well, they are. I will give it that. Like, again, there's a reimagining that does do a little bit more service than, and when I say the original, I mean the 60s one. I mean the original. Obviously, the adaptation of the book. Sorry, I should say it that way. So, like, what the 70s version really kind of did, I mean, apart from obviously the
Jeff Goldblum in that
amazing
too.
special effects,
And
yes,
Veronica
it introduced
Cartwright.
Veronica Cartwright, exactly. You have Spock in there,
just so on for like 2 minutes. He's like barely in it.
yeah, it's good. It's just like, even right up until that scene when Veronica Cartwright is walking right up to him, and she's like, "I'm so glad it's you."
Oh, it's so
And
bad.
it's just so
'Cause she's fucked.
so upsetting. She's
fucked.
fully exposed herself.
Yeah.
And like, she knows, because like everyone else is either dead or gone.
Yeah.
And or being captured, I should say, because I think right up until a point, it's Jeff Goldblum is just missing at that point. I think he just disappears altogether.
Yeah, it like comes down to the quad where it's like Donald Sutherland, who I always think is Margot Kidder, but it isn't Margot Kidder. There's a scene in that movie where they're like having dinner before everything starts, and I don't know why it always makes me laugh. She's like, she can do like this weird trick with her eyes or whatever. She's like, I can't even do it. She like
they
shakes
kind
her
of
eyes.
shake. Yeah.
Yeah, but like there's like the little moment between them two. I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. You know, it's like real like genuine laughter or whatever. But yeah, man, those movies, like, because I don't even know if you could call those remakes.
No, I would say
You
the
know?
70s, the Donald
Complete-
Pleasant one is definitely a remake for sure.
But also, it's a direct sequel because
To the because the
original
guy
character
is running through
shows
the
up.
streets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of giving you the impression that he's been running for like 10 years and he's just gotten to the city to warn everybody.
Yeah.
You know, that movie is so creepy because it's slow. It's like real gradual. Like you see a lot of stuff in the background. It's like they're driving through the city and you see like kind of the Shaun of the Dead thing where you see like kerfuffles in the background. Like they don't focus on it at all. And I've always said that always creeps me out so much more because it's slow and it's creeping in and it's like, what am I even looking at? You know? But yeah, I guess we're kind of due for another Body Snatchers movie. We haven't had one literally since Nicole Kidman.
To be fair, I would love to see like I'd love to see a series. Like a limited HBO Max. Like I would love to see a genuine like fucked up like 10 episode limited series that just fucks you up right until the end. That to me is something like I think, but that's also like how it's kind of going in a way.
Because we've got The Exorcist, things are kind of turning to TV because TV isn't as you're not slumming it anymore if you go to TV. Like
people
TV
are also less
just
inclined to go to the cinema nowadays, of course. But like, I think
that
like it's a
Exorcist
2
show
hour.
was
I thought the first season was good. I kind of fell off with the second one at all. I think I watched like the first 2 episodes and then I was bored of it.
That also, again, I just realized that also isn't a remake. It's a sequel.
Yeah.
Because the mom, Genius Davis, that's Reagan.
Yeah.
That's crazy because they didn't have.
And they didn't
the
reveal
Chris
that
O'Neill.
until like what was it, the 4th or 5th episode in or something?
Right at the end.
Yeah.
And then Chris O'Neill, who like the mom, she's also in it. Ellen Burstyn still plays her, and she gets her head. Spoiler alert: she gets her head just like
twisted right around.
She falls down some stairs, whatever. Like fuck me, it was good. But also, I think that guy's name is still like Karras or something like that. Like I think
Father Karras, yeah,
and
they do. It's kind of like
cheating.
half in, half out kind of deal with that.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think television is the way to go because I think again, like you're limited by people don't generally want to watch 3 hours of a movie.
Yeah,
generally it has to be event cinema or it has to be really good.
And also, like if your source material is something like the book of the Invasion of the Body Snatchers or something like, I don't know, this is going to sound this is completely out of horror, but like for example the Lord of the Rings or something like that, you would want to extend it so you do get the full beat of the story, the plot, the character development. You want to care about your characters. You want to make sure that you're rooting for someone or you really hate someone, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like something like I can just
attach.
see Invasion of the Body Snatchers doing so well as like a limited 10 episode run or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that would do so well. You know?
Yeah.
Like
and again,
especially
I think there's so much
placating
more freedom now.
Yes.
Like you can do so much more on television. And it doesn't even have to be on television.
Like you have the budget
of
of
Netflix, Amazon, Paramount Plus, all of these streaming things that will give you so much more freedom and possibly more money than a television network would.
Yeah, but like also like
less of a risk.
TV series now sometimes, I mean, what you call Game of Thrones has some of those episodes had the budget of films that were done in the 90s, that were done in the 80s.
The
even
Battle
more.
of Winterfell, which I think is like one of the best zombie movies. That one episode is one of the better zombie movies to come out in the last couple of years. No, for like I said, it's my favorite episode of The Walking Dead. Is
the Battle of Winterfell.
The Battle of Winterfell. No joke. Every time I come home from I say every time, a load of times now since that's come out. If I come back from somewhere and like it's usually me and Emma who do stupid shit like that. If we're twisted, we'll stick on like the last.
Shout out to you, Emma.
She wants to put on the last 40 minutes of Endgame, which is like the fight, or we'll put on the Battle of Winterfell. No joke, I get so emotional like during that like when the fires light up every time I like well up where I'm like, oh, they really didn't think it was gonna work. Alexia Socio, I love me sass when she's like trying to do the spell and she doesn't think it's gonna work and then it works and she's like, I totally almost just died, bro. Like it's excellent and it's horror. It's a fucking zombie show.
Well, speaking of zombies, what is a really, really good remake? Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead is great.
It's
really good.
Fantastic. It had me sold from the opening credits onwards.
The opening is
There's a man going round taking names.
Oh, no, seriously. The opening to that movie actually scares the shit out of me.
It was terrifying.
It's just because they wake up and it's already happening.
Yeah.
Like, the daughter comes in and she's got, like, again,
Like, I think
wanna
it's like
see-
half her mouth or something is missing.
It's like she's got a bite. It's like somebody bit her mouth, like her lips.
Like her
off.
lips. Yeah.
And it's just instantly action.
Yeah.
I think there's a zombie baby. I'm like, how does zombie wombs work? How does that work?
Yeah.
But no, I think that's another good one where, because Dawn of the Dead, I don't think people hold it up as like a Psycho. I think it is very much so a cult classic. So I don't think people were as mad at the suggestion to remake it. But also, like, Romero was still around and like signed off on it and stuff like that. But also, it's just brutal. It's so good. It's bloody.
Zack Snyder.
Yeah, and it's scary.
Yeah.
It actually is very scary, which is, I think, hard to do for zombies.
I would agree.
The only other one that fucks me up is 28 Days Later. But that's technically not a zombie movie. It's an infection movie.
So with the Dawn of the Dead, I think, like, as you said, like, right from the get-go, sold.
Yeah.
Deep salute to that film. I was about to say Zachary Quinto. Zack Snyder really, really did it well, and especially that opening credits where like it goes into that aerial shot of her like driving off, and you can see like petrol stations blowing up and an airplane falling in the background and shit like that. It was just so good.
Like, where there's no room in hell, the dead shall walk the earth.
And I loved that. There's another thing is like we said about the fan service, the callback to that.
Yeah.
Done by the same actor.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. I loved that.
He's also in the Halloween remake.
He is, yeah. He gets smashed up against that toilet door.
The third or fourth Texas Chainsaw, he's also in that.
Yes.
Ken...
He was the mother and father of Tia and Tamara. Sister.
No.
Was he not?
No. Not at
oh,
all.
Keenan and Kel. Sorry, it's Keenan and Kel. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Mike you're thinking of.
Yeah.
He's in the original It. Ken... Oh my god, I don't even want to say that. I guess I'm wrong.
So it's like, just that the film is done extremely well, and how everyone focuses. And I love that ending, that like the Dead Island kind of ending.
Oh, but
they find the head in the cooler, and it's great. It's so fun. It's good. It's a good movie.
Ken Foray. Okay.
Ken Foray. Yes.
In the first part.
And it's done.
And Tom Savini.
Of course, yeah. That's but also, like, you know, the way you were saying about that whole kind of gritty, like, you even think like the film was sweaty and
the way
dirty
it's shot,
and all that kind of thing.
Filmed on digital, where everything looks I don't know. I used to always kind of struggle to like differentiate like why I thought television and like movies looked different, and like why like people move different or whatever. That's another example of like fast zombies. Everything in that movie is like, there's no softness to it. They don't really like, they don't do anything to like soften anything. Those zombies are aggressive, they're fast, they're bloody, they're messy, I think there's a scene, it's and I'm thinking of Land of the Dead, which is like the sequel to that with Dennis Hopper in it or whatever, but there's a couple of scenes in that where they're like in a parking garage or whatever, and just like the whole setting, everything is dark and stuff. It's just so much more visceral than... Well, I don't know. That original one is also pretty fucking gnarly. You know, like they had like Dario Argento backing them on that. So he was fully like, I want blood. Like, we need blood. The blood needs to be bright red. Like, that zombie gets the fucking top of his head just chopped off with a helicopter blade.
It's great fun.
It's so fucking good. Yeah. But I think that's another one where people were like, okay, we'll allow this one. This is a good remake.
Yeah.
You know, but again, it's kind of the same where it's like, okay, what's the spine? What are the bones we need to build off of? Zombies, shopping mall, great.
Yeah.
However you get us there and get us out of there, go ahead. Let us see what you have.
Yeah.
You know, there was room to kind of adapt, and that's why I think going for something like, it makes no sense to remake Jaws. It makes no sense to remake Jurassic Park or something like that, where it's like, I think these movies are, and this is not just me being a fanboy, I think those movies are just kind of perfect the way they are. I don't feel like there is a way to expand on them. Yeah. Like, what else do you do with Jaws? You know? And also Jaws, it's not really a period of its, or like a product of its time, so I don't feel like bringing it to modern day would bring or take anything away from it. Yeah. It doesn't really make sense. But again, something like a Fright Night or, kind of what else would I like to see remade? Or Piranha. You know, Piranha was fun, but but that was the entire point. Like, that original movie, I think it's Joe Dante. Like, that movie is dumb, and like the effects are shitty, and it's like such a blatant rip at Jaws and stuff like that. But then by kind of going, okay, nobody really knows about this movie, really.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just like grab that and like make it a whole big thing, and then just make it a big farce.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was
Jerry
like, those...
O'Connell's cock in 3D, detached from the body. All I wanted to see from Scream 2.
It is very much that. Like, that film did not take itself seriously, and
It's a little bit fucking gross in here. Just a little bit.
when it's like, yeah, it's
bitch. 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 You know, see, that was 3 different adaptations of the word bitch. Did you like one better? Oh no, we were talking about Dawn of the Dead.
I prefer the original.
Bitch. But, yeah, I'm curious now to see where Hollywood and kind of cinema in general is going to go with the idea of remakes, because we're not getting remakes anymore. We're getting requels. Like we were literally just looking at there, the new Texas Chainsaw coming out again. It's another retcon, kind of I feel in this style of kind of a Star Wars or the new Halloween, where it's like, okay, we're just going to ignore all the messy shit and just pick up directly from the original.
Yeah.
You know, which I think is a cleaner way to go, because it doesn't mean you can't still enjoy Texas Chainsaw 2 through the next generation, or 2 through the beginning, or whatever like that, you know. But I think it's just a good way to clean things up and make them a little bit more concise, because I think that was the perfect way to go for Halloween. Halloween got very, very messy, and then to just pick up 40 years later
From the first film.
Yeah, from the first film. And I liked what they did with Halloween H2O. I don't give a fuck. I heavily enjoy that movie, because it's like, it's the like art imitating life thing, where it's like Halloween inspired Scream, and then H2O came out, and then Scream inspired Halloween. You know, so there was like a nice little back and forth, you know. But yeah, I think that's kind of the way to go. Just to touch on Scream again, though, that like they're the new rules, is the rules of a requel. You know, whereas we get legacy characters back, they're not exactly safe, a la Han Solo. They managed to like kill him off, and I think that part is necessary though, because then it tells you like kind of all bets are off, which I guess are, if we're talking about Scream 3, are part of the rules of a trilogy. But if I can go off though, yeah, I think people like got tired of remakes, or people kind of labeled remakes just across the board as lazy. So now there has to be like, it has to be like attached to a pre-existing franchise. It can't change too much, but it also can't just do the same thing. You know, it's like things just have to be done in the right rate. You just have to have the right recipe, you know, or you have to have like the right writer and director. It has to be somebody who actually gives a shit about the franchise and wants it to continue on, instead of it just being like you were saying, we're gonna lose the rights, so we have to make another Hellraiser movie.
Yeah,
that's why we have fucking Hellraiser 12, Judgment Again, or whatever the fuck. You know, but now that's going the way that you were talking of. We're getting a Hellraiser HBO TV show,
yeah,
which I think is perfect.
Yeah,
you know, it's a readaptation, not a remake or a sequel.
A readaptation of an adaptation of a sequel
That
would have been a remake, but would have been a reimagining, but didn't work, so they just decided to scrap all of that.
I know, I'm excited. Like, we're getting kind of book accurate Hell Priest. There is no Pinhead. Well, I guess we're gonna get a Pinhead, but it's
biblically accurate.
But you know what I mean? It's not your father's Hellraiser anymore, you know? It's
your father's Hellraiser.
You're just like your father. But no, we're getting more kind of a gender non-confirmed Hellraiser, which again, it was like the whole thing was. It's like Hell Priest's voice was originally described as like a kind of like an excited schoolgirl, but also like a man, you know. It's just, I'm excited. You know, I think Hollywood has kind of started to be like, yo, maybe we shouldn't just make shit just to make shit, you know. Let's make shit every 10 years, and let's make it important. Let's make it actually mean something, you know, like Scream, or like I think in the next movie they should kill Laurie Strode off and just have it like dead, like just, or have those two kill each other.
I just think let it die.
Evil dies tonight. Except it absolutely
c-
doesn't. Wait another year. And evil might die then. Let's attack him with an iron. What the fuck? Oh, I'm gonna fucking kill Michael Myers with a blender or whatever.
Smash it over his
I've
head.
got an ironing board. Let's fuck him up. You know.
That is
Where's
so
all the
Irish.
ghosts?
That
An
is
iron
so
board.
Irish. Imagine that. Like,
The
yeah,
wooden
which is
spoon. Yeah, the slipper, the chancla.
the last movie that I really kind of wanted to touch on, again, it's Wes Craven, but The Hills Have Eyes.
Also done by Wes Craven,
Yeah, well, but
like
that's
the original
yeah.
and the remake.
So, like, again, I think we're seeing a pattern here. Any Wes Craven remake. It's definitely, it's done its duty, and I love the fact that they sort of moved away from the kind of backwoods hick idea to be more like...
They're mutants.
Mutants, and oh, not necessarily...
They're also victims, though.
Yeah, and I like that storyline where, like, you dropped your bombs, we moved into the caves, and...
Also,
like,
why would you not just get out of the way?
True. But...
What are you living in the desert for?
It also does have that powerful message of, like, the government does fuck with people intentionally and all that kind of thing. And
You get that with
I
Cabin
like
Fever and not Cabin Fever. What's that other fucking hick movie?
the other redneck movie.
But you know what I mean. It is the one, but it's like The Hills of Eyes, but just like the woods. Wrong Turn.
Wrong Turn. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They also just remade that as well. In
God,
a
it's
different,
fucking awful.
in a different context, though. They don't make it just poor people bad, hillbilly bad, people with deformities bad. You know, it's like they're like whatever they're doing is for a reason. But like you were saying for like Hills of Eyes, it's like those people are also victims and are also at least initially acting out of desperation. I mean, they then go down to plant traps and
Be
they just light Ted Levine on fire as a distraction. And don't even. Oh, they do eat him. They do take him.
Yeah, they
after
do.
that.
He is crispy bacon.
Oh, dude, that Hills of Eyes remake. Sorry, I just like got more comfortable. The Hills of Eyes remake is so good.
Yeah.
And like that story itself, like the story alone is just very disturbing. I think like there's like a weird cultural, well, not a weird cultural thing. It makes total sense of the idea of killing mothers and like fucking with babies,
Threatening
like they steal the
babies,
baby.
yeah.
But they don't only kill the mother; they kill the grandmother in
Yeah.
both of those movies. They just steal the baby. I feel like he should have rescued the baby at the end because I feel like that would have made it all the more like like grim. It's too.
I
happy
don't
of an
care. I
ending.
liked it. It was
No, like,
patriotic.
It so is. But that, like, again, that all kind of goes back and forth. Where it's like that character, I forget his name, the son-in-law in that movie. He's very like anti-gun.
Dave. It's something
Okay.
pure white bread.
If you say so.
It's pure white bread person.
It's something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's him versus like the dad who like is like all pro
Bill.
gun. He's like an ex-cop.
Yeah.
Like he's got like it's literally Ted Levine. It's literally fucking Buffalo Bill.
Yeah.
So fucking hot in that movie. He's got like a big old mustache, and he's literally someone's dad.
Dad vibes.
For sure, bro. But also he fully just gets his family killed. Like I know they get killed by the people who live in the hills, but like you didn't have to take this scenic route. We really could have gone onto the motorway.
Yeah,
And
true.
we all would have been alive.
But again, it's a wrong turn situation, but like
You
purely
killed us.
circumstantial, you know.
I don't
They plotted
know.
it purely circumstantial. You just happen to be the one family that they happen to come across. So,
But not even because they go to that.
you kind of asked for it. I'm victim blaming here.
They go to the truck stop, and that guy who's in there is like, "No, you got to go down that way." But he's only doing that. I feel like we're like getting out of remakes and just getting into like morality now. He's only doing that because he is also being victimized by those people. Hurt people hurt people. Bitch. You know? It's the cycle of abuse.
Yeah.
It sounds like a joke, but it's like it really does. It's like it goes to the top. You know? If the government hadn't fucked with those people, these people wouldn't be fucking with this man in the truck stop. This man in the truck stop wouldn't be fucking with these, you know, whatever.
These good Christian white folks.
For a man, listening to the little mamas and papas. I love how they use California Dreaming though in that movie.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
And then the second one, the sequel to the remake is crazy.
Gosh.
One of the guys, I think like the original sergeant that they find back at that base camp, They find him in the toilet.
Yeah.
Because they just covered him in loads of tiny little cuts and then just put him in the shit so that he would die slowly, which is so twisted. I love it. But then you find out at the start of that movie, all the women they're grabbing and getting, they're just taking them to breed. It's so fucked up. I think literally the opening scene to
Isn't
that
that?
movie
Yeah,
is
the
a lady
opening
giving
scene is
birth,
yeah,
and then they bash her head in.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so bad. And we see that girl at the end get raped, like, on camera. That guy wasn't even hot. No, I'm joking.
Oh my god!
No, they make it so creepy though, and like so visceral. For like, I don't know. Hills of Ice is totally not a slasher. Like, it's like totally an exploitation movie.
It is. It was definitely started as an exploitation.
Kind of Last House on the Left.
Yeah.
Also Wes Craven.
Yeah.
You know, that
God,
remake.
he just had a thing for rape, didn't he?
I mean, seriously though, I think like he was kind of like, I feel like this could like be its own episode. I feel like Wes Craven could have his, like, will have his own episode and speaking it into existence.
You're putting it out
he's
into the
very
universe.
good at getting down to like primal fears.
Yeah.
You know, you get it in Nightmare. It's like everybody's afraid of having nightmares. Everybody's afraid of being eaten. Everybody's afraid of like having control taken away from them, a like kind of rape or murder or kidnapping. You know, I think like he's just very good at like getting right down into it. That was Remakes.
Well, I mean,
Any finishing notes?
Well, final words. There's not that many that I would. As I said before, like, my opening line is I fucking hate sequels, and remakes honestly are just a huge hit or miss for me, and most of the time it is a miss.
But that's fair. I think that's kind of the.
It's only very rare.
But I think there's a certain bar that it's like if you can make a good remake, you're set. Or if you can make something like a good attachment onto a pre-existing franchise and have people like it, like how it blend in seamlessly, I think people are like, I've got my eye on you. Oh, sorry, just before the Evil Dead remake. Holy fuck, bro. It's so good.
I have my opinions on this.
I actually didn't ask. But Evil Dead 2 I'm joking. Evil Dead 2 was
fair enough, bitch. I'm only 50% of this company.
But like the second movie, Evil Dead 2, is also basically a remake of Evil Dead 1.
Yeah, just with better production value.
And like a couple of more jokes. But
Yeah.
that Evil Dead remake, I think when that came out, kind of universally, people were like, fuck yes. Because it gave us everything we want from an Evil Dead movie.
Groovy.
Didn't try and change too much. You know, they didn't try and have another Ash. You know, it was just in their story, cabin in the woods, basic, possessions, gore. It rained blood on set. You know, there's so much blood in that. They fucking split that fucking bitch, like, right down the middle for a while.
Practical effects, bro.
Again, yeah, that was also, it's another kind of...
It's always a bonus for me when I
high
see
points.
practical on-screen gore.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like I will give the movie a pass purely based on gore factor.
Like, you
know
did the
what I mean?
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
But also, again, it's the Michelle Visage thing. It's like, got it. It's still bad.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, you can work and work and work and work on this movie for years and years. Doesn't mean it's going to be good. Effort does not equal payoff.
Yeah.
Or effort does not equal, like, accomplishment.
Which is why I think it's always, like, a hit or miss situation with remakes. Again, like, I always think it is unfair to compare it to the original because, if they're trying to go for a reimagining instead of a remake or a sequel prequel, they should be purely based off of they should be merited purely based off of their efforts rather than now again it's the opposite with Psycho, because that was, to me, is a full-on shot-for-shot remake.
I know, but it is. That was the entire point.
So
like, I don't think Gus Van Sant ever tried to pass that off.
That's great. That's your
anything
opinion.
Original, you know.
So, so I really do. I do think that the remakes should be purely based on their own merit of work rather than comparing to the originals. Because oftentimes, like, that's the unfortunate skewing factor.
And yeah, they should be, but I think it is impossible. I think, like, it is just...
Oh, subconsciously you're always going to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's human nature to kind of compare and contrast.
You're like, well, they did it better, though.
Exactly. But exactly. Or you're looking for, like, you have expectations in a remake. That's why with Suspiria, I couldn't tell exactly where it was going to go next, because they kind of bang out all the points, and then it's like, well, like we already like have covered everything the original did, and there's still like an hour and a half left of movie, so there's so much more we can do. Versus, I don't know, I'm trying to think of one that's like not like A Nightmare on Elm Street, where it's like they really just kind of got the same script and just reshot the movie, but didn't kind of care to make it as shot for shot. You know, like, I don't know. I think there is merit in everything. And again, all art is art. Art is subjective. I just don't have to watch it all.
Well, on that note.
I think we kind of got... I think those are kind of my comprehensive notes on remakes. You know, we'll come back to this again. We'll see where the state of...
We've got sequels down the line.
A couple of years.
We've got... we've got sequels down the line.
So, yeah, I think that was kind of the... I'm happy with that as, like, my comprehensive thoughts as of yet on remakes and stuff. I think we're both still firmly in our own courts. I don't think I've convinced you. I don't think you've convinced me. But I think that's just always how it's going to be. You either like remakes or you don't. Or no, I don't even think it's that broad. I think it's just, like, it really has to be case-by-case basis.
Yeah. I would agree there. It is really just case by case basis. There's no real solid argument to say this is better. Well, there is actually when it compares to The Wicker Man.
It's not just remake bad, original good.
Yeah,
like I think that's too.
There is a grey area there because you do have certain restrictions at certain times, but then there can be.
That might pick up the snap of the wrist there.
You do get Yeah. So it's your choice next week, and you decided.
Oh, okay. So, kind of speaking to a portion of this episode, I have picked Romero's Dawn of the Dead.
He wanted to pick the original, not the remake.
Yeah, it's my choice. So we got like a little collaboration between. We're gonna have to pick a certain cut because there's like an Italian cut of this. I don't mean Italian dubbed, but there's a cut that they showed in Italy. There's one like with Goblin score to it instead of the original. There's basically like an Argento and a Romero cut. But I'm just gonna go with the Romero cut, like theatrical release. If there's an unrated, I might try and watch the unrated. But yeah. I love every time I try and whisper past this thing.
You want to like cover your
I cover the mic, like when you put your hands over kids' ears or whatever, like so they don't hear. But it's literally like
the kid is clearly listening.
It's literally an area microphone. But so Dawn of the Dead
70 something or other.
I'm gonna say 4.
74. Jesus, not that fucking old.
Oh, I think I'd say 74. Oh, also, Savini at one point did a remake of Night of the Living Dead, which people also really, really enjoy. It's got Tony Todd in it. And we didn't even get to Candyman, but you already heard what we said about Candyman.
So, yeah, that was remakes.
It sure was.
Not a definitive answer, I suppose, but
78. Damn
78.
it.
Wow, you were off. So yeah, not a definitive answer, but yeah, there you go. There's some pointers,
Take it as you see it.
And leave the change on the dresser. So you've been listening to They're Here
on the SLAB.
On the SLAB.
I'm well gonna watch that remake of Psycho when I go home later.
So make sure to like, subscribe, follow, all that jazz. Make sure to follow us on Instagram for some daily updated content and
tell people about us. Spread the news.
Yeah, leave a like on the video.
Oh my god, best friend! I don't know if you've actually heard. There's this fabulous podcast I listen to. They're Here podcast. They are a horror podcast. I think you would really like them. That's what we like to
podcast,
say.
podcast, and podcast with podcasting.
Have you ever heard of podcasts, friend? You should listen to this one. Yeah.
Bye. Fucking baby, bitch, ass,
Bitch, baby, bitch, boy.